So tonight I'm out for wild camp. It's been a while. It's in the Mourne Mountains. I'm not sure exactly yet what location I'm going to be, but to add value to the wild camp, I have got a great, super, absolutely brand new product from LedLenser. Yes, I am sponsored by LedLenser, but I absolutely love their equipment. So it'll be a bit of a first look at that tonight as well. And I'm going to look at camping area selection and gear selection, and talk you through some of the equipment I have and why I've actually selected it. So I hope you enjoy that and come and join me on the trip. So one consideration here is water. I am not carrying a litre of water up all this distance. Probably come nearly about 2 miles at the moment. So I'm not carrying that up I'm not carrying water up here when I can actually get it here. My campsite's only another quarter of a mile, so what I might do is a litre generally is not really enough for me. So what I might do is come down a wee bit later and get some more. Okay, so my first consideration when I get up here is actually keeping warm. I know some people say you can get your tent up first. It depends on the conditions. I mean, it's quite cold up here. Very wind chill, I would say it's kind of plus 1 or 2 degrees. So in my pack, I've got my pack set out with my insulated jacket at the top. So it'll only take a couple of seconds to put that on, and then I'm comfortable. So first bit of kit is my Cumulus Climalite jacket. It's synthetic jacket. I think it's probably, can't remember just the weight of it, but it's used really, really good insulation, and it's pretty lightweight. And I just at the moment kind of going through a phase where I would prefer synthetic over down, just because it insulates better when it gets wet, and it's just that wee bit more versatile. This jacket, can't make up my mind whether I'm going to wear it or not. I'll keep it off actually at the moment. So next really we're just looking at the tent. So things are organised in my pack just so that what I need is really, really handy. First of all, so we'll get this out of the way. It's not really too windy at the moment, but just in case the wind gets up. I sort of kind of picked out a wee spot here just behind us, so I'm going to move the camera now and just go through to sort of set up with you. So I'm just assembling my poles first. I always stay very low when I'm doing that. It just I think if it's windy, you just kind of get into the routine of doing that. It also, I think, reduces the poles actually snapping together, which is better for the poles. My tent choice tonight, I've just brought up my Hilleberg Soulo Black Label. It's going to be, I don't think it's going to be tested particularly well, here, but the advantage of this location, I'm actually just looking, and there's potentially a massive either sleet or snow squall coming in, so I'm going to get this tent up pretty quickly. I can't really afford to hang around. I have the tent orientated in this bag so that I know which end is which. I don't think it's really going to matter tonight. The wind kind of seems to be coming this direction, so when I say orientated, these guys here, and it just pops out of the bag, and I know where the front is and where the back is. So I probably do prefer to have the door away from the wind, just for that wee bit of shelter. I brought up, I think there's 12 pegs come standard with this tent, so I've actually brought up 16, I think, just as a bit of backup. Nothing as bad as coming up and finding out you haven't actually got enough pegs if it gets really, really windy. You can resort to boulders, but I prefer not to do that. your choice of tent as well. I mean, I've chosen this particular tent because it's outer first pitching. I much prefer that, particularly pitching in conditions like this where I'm under threat of rain. Most of you have seen me do this before, but forecast, of course, is for no rain. I really don't want to get, couldn't be bothered getting wet. And the red pole here, or the pole with the red marker on it, is the shorter of all the poles, and it kind of goes over the top. And then it's just a matter of clipping and clipping from the ground up. Nice little gust. Again, I am not hanging around here. No fancy filming. I would normally do some close-up shots of some of this work, but it's just a matter of clipping the tent. The idea is to move around the tent, but kind of not just doing the theoretically perfect one at the moment. Just need to get it up. Actually getting the drone in the tent, keep that dry. Come on, switch off for fuck's sake. So it just goes to show you can never ever rely on the weather forecast. There's no single weather forecast that I looked at and checked about 3 or 4 of them. Said it was going to actually be even raining up here, never mind snow. So a bit of a, not really an issue, but hadn't really brought any weather gear. And again, it's reinforcing the thing that I was saying about synthetic. I mean, if this gets wet, it doesn't really matter. I mean, my rucksack's getting a bit wet at the moment, but I'm just going to bring it in for a bit of shelter at the moment. No, anyway. Really kind of want to get the tent guyed out. I mean, one of the big advantages here is, you know, this tent with 10mm poles. I always say it's good to have a tent that is actually strong without being guyed out, and this is really strong without being guyed out. So I'm not in a major rush, but still just like to get one guy line out at the back. If this weather would sort of ease off a bit, and then the tent's pretty secure. It's certainly not going to go away anywhere, but just to actually protect the tent. I don't think I'm going to get my drone out again, so I'll stick these guys away. There's just about enough room to work here and under these conditions. I just don't really want to. I want to minimise the dampness that I'm transferring in my tent. I mean, that again is something as a consideration. You know, I've said sort of out of the tent, and I haven't just lifted my gear and put it into the tent. You know, once your tent gets damp and dry, then it's very hard. Or it's damp, it's very hard to get it dried. So at the moment, everything is just protected. I'm just waiting for that sort of eases off a bit to actually get out and get the tent fully staked out. So at the moment, I am so glad of the strength of this tent because I just don't want to get soaked trying to get it guyed out, and it's still there's a bit of sort of collapse, you know, here on the side because it is quite windy, but the tent's actually doing really, really well. So now that I've got a bit of a chance just getting the guys around the tent, this will make a big difference to the strength. It'll not deform in any of the gusts anymore. So I pretty much always bring 4 extra pegs just for the sort of windward side, or where I think the tent needs the most security. So I have here a super light little trekking towel, actually out of Trespass. Wouldn't normally use trespass as a brand, mind you, but you know, some things they have are actually really, really good. And the sort of buff that I'm wearing is like a merino buff, and it's from Trespass as well. So just because I've got a bit of dampness here, I'm actually going to dry the tent. One thing that I do really love to do is try and do things outside if I can, even if it's pretty cold. There's not too much of a wind here at the moment, so I'm sort of, my hands are a bit cold, but I just really enjoy doing things outside the tent. So, stove tonight, I mean I use the stove most of the time, is a Soulo Windmaster. I think it's about 87 grams or something like that, so it's a wee canister top stove. I'm just going to pop these stuff sacks in my pocket. I just don't want to risk anything getting blown away. So canister top stoves, very, very light, but can be a bit more prone to wind, just simply because the burner is higher than what would be called a remote one. I'm using gas tonight just simply because of its simplicity. I can't completely trust it. You can hear it kind of, just make sure it's on really, really tight. So Soulo Windmaster is an outstanding stove in wind. Now, so like anything when you buy it, you're just looking for a combination of features. It is amazing in wind. It's not the most powerful stove on the market. I'm not looking for super quick boil times. I'm looking for a fast boil time so that if I'm out in challenging conditions, it still actually works. But the actual number of minutes that it takes to boil is not the be all and end all, because I'm generally not out in a circumstance where every second counts. This is just a kind of a cheaper titanium pot that has just gone off eBay. I think it's Elixir or something like that. I can't remember how to work it. It's been a wee while. Wasting gas here, so excuse that. It's like all of these things, you know, if you get out of practice, is this going from the bottom or the top? I think it's the bottom, embarrassingly enough. But anyway, it's sorted out now anyway. So we'll get that guy going. Need. I mean, I can move this. I probably will move this around. Maybe get a wee fraction more shelter in here. Now, nothing very exciting. These are soba noodles. I think they would be my favourite of all of this type thing. They're pretty cheap and they're really, really tasty. So I'm looking forward to getting. I've actually brought 2 of these with me tonight, and that's kind of a food choice. So hopefully if we're able to start to see a bit of a look around the campsite and the camping area with the drone. Couldn't make my mind up, you know, when I was coming up tonight as exactly where to go. I mean, there's a few other locations, and I think I will generally never go into an area without knowing it pretty well and knowing that I have a number of choices. So at least tonight I came up and I sort of thought, well, you know, if it feels good, I'll go up a bit higher. If it don't feel so good, I'll stay lower. Or if the wind direction was maybe all over the place. The thing I said earlier here, you know, you can get really, really good shelter from the wind, and in fact now it's just really, really nice and still. So I'm looking forward to a cold night. I'm going to take off my watch here and stick it on top of the tent, and we'll see what the temperature is down to. So I decided to come back into the tent because the theory of being outside the tent, eating was good, but in reality, it's just a bit on the chilly side. There's not really much to film me actually eating these noodles, so I will get stuck in and then I'll get the camera back on later. It needs to be a bit of a charge anyway after being used in all the cold weather. Alright, so I said earlier, I'll talk you through some of the kit that I'm actually using. Might actually just have to stew that in the morning, but I mean, I'll go through some of it now. And the jacket that I'm wearing is a jacket from Millet, who are a French company, and the trousers are also from Millet. The trousers are really like a soft shell. I'm trying to look on my phone here to see what I'm seeing on the actual camera and to see what you're seeing. They're soft shell, pretty light, but really, really good reinforcement on the knees and down for like a sort of a crampon patch. Although the trousers are not very, very heavy, they are pretty durable. Will you or will you not be able to see it? Ventilation on the legs, which is pretty good, pretty handy. And zippered pockets everywhere. It's really good if you have outdoor gear and it has zippered pockets, because it just means nothing falls out of your pockets. I always think it's bad for outdoor trousers to have pockets that are not actually zippered. It just keeps everything you need actually secure. Now, the top itself is it's a sort of a hybrid. It's a sort of a soft shell down the front, and then underneath the arms, and the whole back of it is a micro sort of grid, sort of like fleece. And the idea of the front of it, it's got Polartec Alpha in it, which is a very breathable insulation. So the front of it is wind protected and but has a little bit of breathability. And then, as I said, the areas where you need lots of breathability, then even in the back of the jacket, it's that sort of microgrid. So at the end of the day, when you're wearing a pack, your back is given some level of warmth anyway. Now, I must admit, I found it worked really, really well. But for both the trousers and the jacket, I'll sort of leave a link in the description, to what they are, and I'll do that, with all of the gear. Now, yeah, hard to know how well this is all going to work with the light, etc. The sleeping bag tonight is a Rab. It's an older Alpine 600. I've had it for many years. The thing about sleeping bags is down is always going to be lighter than synthetic, and it will compress easier, and it will last longer. Now, in theory, inside your tent, you shouldn't really be getting it wet, and you shouldn't really have such condensation issues that your bag is getting wet. Now, this bag has a sort of a Pertex Endurance shell on it, which has a little bit of water protection. But the key thing about the bag is that it has 600 grams of 800 fill power down, and Rab rate that to about -6 comfort. Now, for 4-season camping sort of in Northern Ireland, that's definitely enough. And any time that I need to boost it, I'll just wear a few extra layers. Now, my insulation from the ground, I'm using two different types of insulation. I've got a Thermarest Uberlite at the very, very bottom. It is super lightweight, 250 grams, but not really that warm. I can't remember the exact R value. And then I'm using an Exped Fleximat, which is a closed cell foam mat on top of that. And it doesn't have great R values as well. But the two of them I sort of reckoned would be good. We're doing maybe -2 or -3. And the last time I checked the temperature outside, I've got my watch sitting outside in the tent. That's exactly what it was. So I would think that'll be good enough tonight. It's like any system. I want a system that is flexible and lightweight. It'll never really get much colder than -6, here in Northern Ireland. So this will do me for the winter. And then in summer I can just use the Uberlite, which is just so light and so compact. Pack wise, what I'll do is I may not show you everything. Might sort of go through them again in the morning. We'll see how things go. But in pack wise, I'm using an Osprey Argon 70. In hindsight, would I buy a 70 litre? I'm not so sure. I think it's like everything that has some advantages and disadvantages. The big advantage of a 70 litre pack is if you need to pack up and go quickly, you don't have to micromanage and pack all your gear, and you're not stuffing all your gear into it. You can get your down jacket in and a few other things in, possibly without even compressing them that tightly, which is a big bonus. But the disadvantage is that some people say I'll carry extra gear that you don't need, and also the fact of with a 70 litre packet, it obviously does weigh a little bit more. But Osprey Argon 70, it's about 10 or 12 years old. Back in that time, Osprey make the Ether now, and they've kind of stopped it. I think it's Ether, although they know they do an Ether Pro, but it was actually the one above the Ether, so it's really, really well spec'd, and it's extremely comfortable. Now, the thing about a pack, where the money is in packs, is really just in the back systems and how comfortable they are to carry heavy loads. and also most packs now will have some form of acrylic suspension in them. So whenever you're walking, there's a degree of flex in the sort of support of the pack, which means it's just sort of not sort of jarring on your shoulders. I think that's probably about it. And head torches tonight, I did mention. I've no idea where it is. It's not far away, but here we go. I see real world filming. This is a new LedLenser. It's a NE05R. And it's a light that's specifically designed for trail running or urban running, and it has some really good features, particularly with that in mind. So for example, it's only like 100, I measured it today, it's like 110 grams. The output is 600 lumen on boost or 300 lumen on high power, and that will run at 300 lumen like for 4 hours. And then I think the next one drops down from 300 to 100, and I'm not just so sure what the low power is yet. I said I've literally only got this. I'll hold it up towards the camera. Now it has an integrated cable in the band there, just for comfort. And I must say, when I've actually worn it, you really would hardly know that it is there. When it is switched on, it just comes on at your low power, and there's a battery status indicator there that just comes on, and that's on green. Hit it again, then it boosts up a little bit, and again boosts up further, and then a double tap will put it on boost, and we'll go out and we'll have some sort of beam shots in a moment. But the front part of the light here is just, it's so light, and the battery pack, this is quite broad, so it's very comfortable and very secure. It has, let me see, you have an LED indicator here from the back, so that people or traffic can actually see you. And the headband itself, I'm not sure if you can pick this up, is actually reflective, so you have 360 degrees visibility, as in someone seeing you. Other aspects, I think that's kind of about it. There's a nice wee sort of silicone pad here, just on the front, which makes it really comfortable. And fit wise, I found for me, it's great. You just would not know that it's on your head, and it is very stable. So again, there's a degree of movement here that you can have. So we'll go out and have some beam shots, and tonight I've also got and the light that you're getting at the moment is coming from my LedLenser H7R core, which is an amazing light. It has an output of 600 lumen, and again it runs 600 lumen for 4 hours. It'll boost up to 1000 lumen, and it has a focusable sort of beam on it, so you can adjust the amount of flood and spread. So can't really show you it at the moment because I said I'm using it to sort of light things up. But it'll be a good idea to sort of for me to go out and compare the H7R core on the 600 lumen setting and this on the boost setting, which is also the 600 lumens. But so far I'm going to do a proper test of this, and a proper review, but it's really just a first look of the light. And again, I'll try and position it so you can kind of see it, but it's very compact. Build quality feels really good. The switch here is very steady. These are filthy dirty, but they are Arcteryx, and they have like a little neoprene booty inside the boot. Can't remember, I think they're a Bora, but again I'll put a link to them. They are the way most comfortable boots I have ever had. Not rigid enough now to wear a crampon, but for general force season without snow, these are amazing. But I will say boots are very much down to fit. It's definitely not a one size fits all. I'm not going to talk much about the tent. You kind of know what the tent is, and there'll be a link to it in the description as well. My background with all of this, I actually started doing camping as the first thing that I was doing. I wasn't really that interested in hill walking. So lots of people will start hill walking and then they'll do camping. I did it the other way around. I had a friend, his name was Martin. He took me out camping just in a forest, lit a fire, had a few beers, loved it. Did it about a month again later. Second occasion, loved it just as much as the first. Third occasion, he says, Luke, why don't we go out and camping in the winter? Just all you need to do is buy yourself a 4-season sleeping bag and I'll lend you the rest of the gear. Did that, went out in the winter, had a few beers, again, absolutely loved it. And after those 3 sessions camping, I was absolutely hooked. And I then decided that, I knew I liked it. It wasn't one of those things where you think, do I like this or not? I knew that I liked it. So I just then went out and bought a really expensive tent, because that was the kind of, for me, if you're going to camp in winter, maybe I knew I liked camping in exposed areas as well, and it excited me being out in high winds. So I just went out and bought like a Thermarest Quasar at the time, which is one of the best 4-season tents you could buy. And then I built all my gear actually around that. Now there's no need for you to do that if that's what you're thinking of doing and you're just not sure at this stage. But what I would say is, your shelter is the key thing, and that's the thing you should start with. And spend as much money as you can afford. The more money you spend, the lighter, in general, the lighter it will be and stronger it will be for a given weight and volume. So heading out now to give these head torches a test. Let me just see, yeah, that's the 87R core. So we'll go out and give it a go. And obviously what I'm wearing, the new Neo5. What else? Yeah, I'm also actually here. The light provided at the moment is by a LedLenser NE05R lantern. This is just a brilliant little lantern. I think it weighs 93 grams or something like that. It is obviously so light. Let me just turn down the light a little bit on it. Maybe be able to see it a wee bit better. Just so light and really, really compact. So I'm going to leave that on its lowest setting, just on a tent, while I'm out and about. So let's go and see what these lights can do. And also, got my Garmin outside. It's been outside now for about an hour. Hopefully it's still working. So we'll see what temperature it's showing. Hopefully it'll be nice and cold. This is just a quick check on the Garmin to see how the light's working out. No idea how this will turn out. Temperature just -2. So this is really just looking at the light on the actual trail. That's not bad at all. So flicking through the settings, that's the high setting. Easily enough light to sort of see the trail in front of me. That's on the low setting, mid and high, and then double tap. That's it down on the boost. The boost is absolutely fantastic now. It's on 600. So here, just from the flood, then nice big advantage here, turn that on the spot. And then back into flood. So just as a comparison, and that's obviously putting out the 600 lumen. Alright, good morning. It's a really nice morning with super clear skies and very, very cold. Last night in a tent, took my watch off and just set it inside of the tent, and it went down to like 0 degrees. And earlier on in the night I had recorded at -2. So pretty cold, not outstandingly cold, but definitely pretty cold. Now I mentioned my sleeping system, and that was the Exped, Fleximat and Thermarest Neoair Uberlite, and did absolutely perfect. I mean, I wasn't incredibly warm, but I could feel no cold at all coming up through the ground, so that combination worked really, really well. Other bits and pieces, I mean, I did mention last night about my rucksack, and Rucksack to some extent is a rucksack, but that's it there, the Osprey Argon. And I think I was also mentioning that it is super well padded in the shoulders and hip belt, and then also the suspension system, which is kind of up here, and that just flexes and really absorbs the weight of the pack, you know, when you're actually walking. Unfortunately, way too windy this morning to get the drone up. Just been out and measured the wind speed, and I got gusts there of 32.3. In all honesty, I'm quite sure there's been gusts significantly higher than that. The way it seems to happen here is because of the shelter around me. The wind doesn't like hit the tent directly. It kind of bounces off the mountains and then will kind of hit the tent. So it's really kind of hitting the tent from lots of different angles. The tent choice, really, really good. It's the first time I've actually used this tent in the mountains. I've had it up in 60-mile-an-hour winds before on the coast, but it's the first time I've sort of used it for mountains. And I'm really, really delighted with the space and versatility of the tent, and also the fact here that when the winds are hitting it from all directions, I'm not lying worrying about the tent. I'm completely relaxed, you know, whenever I'm sort of trying to get to sleep. Other sort of key things, I'm wearing the jacket I was talking about last night, the Millet jacket with the Polartec Alpha. It worked really, really well. There's always an issue when you're coming in and you start to work hard with a pack on your back and you're climbing, and you start to generate a lot of heat, and it's always an issue that you just get overly warm. Well, the idea of Polartec Alpha is that it is breathable, and I must admit, with the Polartec Alpha in the front and the wind protection in the front and the microgrid fleece that's all around the back of the jacket, I got up here and I was really warm and I wasn't overheating, and I was working pretty hard, so really, really impressed with that. So all in all, I'm not sure how much I'll film whenever I'm going down, because you've seen most of it on the way up. If the wind's easier lower down, I'll maybe try and I may get the drone up again. I might even film taking the tent down. The issue here, as you can actually see, is the tripod that I have. The feet don't go particularly wide on it, so it's not incredibly stable. I have it sort of propped up at the moment to get a bit of shelter, but I reckon if I have that exposed to the wind, it'll get blown over by the wind, so it's getting shelter. But certainly pretty gusty. Look, thanks for watching. My next review, we'll see how the stabilisation on the camera sorts that out. My next review will be on the LedLenser NE05R, which I just got and tested last night, just sort of for a first look. But it'll be much more detailed, you know, on that light, and certainly my first impression on the light was very, very good. So yeah, thanks for watching. Until the next time.